Gundam.tk presents G-Exes. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from GundamReviews.net, and as you can see, Wolf's old and new kits going around there in high grade and advanced grade. You can see that all the plates are empty, which means the high grade G-Exes 1/144th is all put together, so let's take a look at the individual parts. There's the standard assortment of limbs here, including a 00 type waist connector, a large backpack, extra manipulator, big beam rifle, shield, and beam sabers. This kit, like 99% of what I do, is completely unpainted. The only thing I did is add some lining with the gray first, and I wasn't too happy with that, so I ended up going over most of it with black afterwards, which just goes a little bit better with the black seals that you're gonna get. Here you can see that there's a lot of them that are gonna go all over the limbs, and I didn't use all those green ones because they actually give you a nice blue-green teal kind of piece for inside the head. And you are going to get an extra personal mark, so my advanced grade is probably going to be getting some nice hand-me-downs. Starting with the legs that look pretty good and colorful from the side and back, but from the front they're going to be pretty much just all white, which is a little bit disappointing. Anyway, this part here, the hip is going to move, so you're going to get some good mobility there. The all-important bend of the knee, you're going to get this part here and this part down here. And when you actually put this big gray piece together for the knee, it's sort of interesting. You seal a polycap on the inside and put a bottom piece on there. And it's also going to have this gray piece on the inside of the white one if you can make it out there. So it's sort of cool that this part is going to stay in the center no matter how you bend it. Down below you're just going to have two big white parts which stick on there. You've got some lining possibilities there. Black seal here, here, and here. And the ankle is going to have a part from the A plate with a big polycap in there. So big movement side to side, front to back, not as much, but it should be plenty sufficient. Compared to the advanced grade from the front, outside of the lining, which you could add a little bit here, although there isn't the channels on this part in particular, but outside of the gray top of the foot, you're not going to notice any differences. It's only from the side and the back that you start to see the quality of the high grade. The waist section has a lot more color to it with a nice gray piece down below and this gray part, of course, holding it all together in the center. The front skirts are going to be attached together, so they're not going to have independent movement. You put a white piece there, and these side parts are actually supposed to be weapons. They have little tiny rockets inside, and if you look at the way the pros did it, painted on the side, you can put some color in there. However, at most angles you look at it, unless you're looking at it directly on, you're not really going to see it, so I didn't bother to do it. But if you want to, just before you put these two pieces together, you could fix that up. This is a place where, because it has these large black stickers in the middle, when I put the gray lining over here, it really didn't work out, so that's sort of what necessitated the change to black. And on the back, you're going to have these parts, which do not move at all, and there's this little small part here, which is going to fall off if you're not too careful with it, but you can attach the beam rifle on there. As you can see here, if you bend this part out, it's going to sit on there and stay on pretty well. The chest looks really dull, but actually it's made up of quite a few interesting parts. You've got a great part down here with a ball joint, so you're able to move the waist around here. This is a part that's different from the one that you put on, and there's this very tiny little white part that you put on here, and I wonder if that's not going to be a color variation in the future. Here's where you're going to attach the backpack on, but it's the shoulders that are impressive. They go up and down a little bit, as well as forward and back, so you can actually get a pretty good range of mobility. In terms of lining, you have all sorts of chances here to line it however you want. Again, I did it in gray, but it didn't work with the black seals on the shoulders, so I went with black here. You could have put a lot more on, but I'm sort of thinking sound wave motif, and I'll just keep it like this, I think. Compared to the advanced grade, though, the advanced grade has most of the same color applications all over the place, including that gray part down there on the bottom. The waist, the chest is going to be all white except for the neck, and outside of the fact that nothing moves on this one, you do have all the colors down, which meant if you just added a little bit of lining and you've got the same opportunities there as you do here, and a little bit of black stickers, you could actually make the AG look as good as the HG for these parts. The quality gap becomes more evident though with the arms, where you're going to have a shoulder that's going to go around. This part can bend up and down, and when you put it together you actually put a gray part in there. Sort of disappointed that that's not visible there from the front. Little bit of black lining inside, black seals here, black seals here. You can still see some of the gray lining, I guess, there on the back, whereas there's black on the front. But in terms of the bend of the elbow, it's sort of neat that the gray parts go all the way down here. You slap white parts around it, and you're going to bend at 90 and then up like this. And if you go much more, you'll actually pop the elbow out. Still impressive that you're getting more than a 135 out of a high grade there. This part is going to pop out, and you can put this part down here. It's not going to play such a big role on the right arm of the Gundam, but for the left arm, it's going to have applications as you can rotate it to put the shield in place. And for dynamic left-hand poses, you do get one extra part. The white part here is different from the other two, which have a little L-shaped part to make sure you put the right one in the right hand. But in this case, it's going to look pretty good, especially with the wolf fangs in use. On the left is the advanced grade, and you can see that it's splitting apart here, but again, they do a very good job of getting the main colors there with that gray part showing all the way through. It's even got this white part over there, and that part inside, which is a gray part. So outside of the fact that it doesn't move, it's still going to get some points here for looks anyway. The backpack is pretty good in theory because it does have a lot of moving parts. These parts are both on ball joints, so they can move in and out, and you can get some pretty dynamic poses there. The beam sabers fit in these parts very well as they push down. These are gray stickers which are on a bend, so that's never quite ideal. You can imagine those will peel up over time. And there's two big black stickers on the back which are just going to add a little bit of oomph. The thrusters down here don't move, but at least they're in gray instead of white. The big problem that I had though is that when you put these parts together, you may notice that the seam lines are very evident. And these parts are going to poke up above his shoulders, which means they're actually going to be visible from the front. And if you squeeze them together, they're going to stay in place. So a little bit of glue would fix that up, especially if you sand it down, of course. But in this case, when you put it together in its natural form, they're going to split, and that's going to reveal an ugly line, which Bandai has been doing a pretty good job of lately, of hiding even on high-grade models. Advanced grade on the left, it's got the shape pretty much nailed, except nothing is going to move, and nor do the beam sabers come out. The beam rifle is looking pretty impressive. It's very large, and it's actually got this above and below kind of feature. This is the part that you're going to bend out if you want to attach it onto the back of the waist skirt. Little lines all over the place if you want to put in some black lining. The gray, of course, wouldn't show up nearly as much. Over here, you're going to have a green seal showing, and this part you can bend out or down, so it's going to be hidden, or you can put it this way for some two-handed shooting action. That's the AG on top, and it's looking pretty good along with some lining opportunities there. It's going to have this part sticking out on the side, but this part won't fold down, and outside of the fact that it's much, much skinnier, you're actually getting something somewhat comparable. Where the high grade can't compete though is with the beam sabers. They're both going to fit in very well here. Come out, you can put a little bit of lining down there at the bottom, if not around there. These are going to be the flat sort of pancake shape ones. They're not the all round ones, but they're looking very good. Somewhat disappointing though that they're not oversized, because when you saw Wolf first show up and fight the Bactos in the G-Exes, you really thought that they were much more massive than a regular one, but I'd imagine that's something you could borrow from a master grade if you chose. The shield is looking pretty sharp, and it's got this big gray piece in the back. It's sort of unfortunate that that doesn't cover the whole thing, but then you wouldn't really expect that for a high grade. You do have some lining opportunities around there just to fix that up. On the front, this is just one piece. It sort of looks like you've got a small piece on top of a large one, but that's not the case. I put some lining here, but I didn't do any down the side, and these wolf stickers certainly look good for the personal mark. Just make sure you line it up right before you stick it down, and the extra is going to be handed down and make it look quite good. And what do I mean for hand-me-downs? Well, on the advanced grade, I just cut this mark out of the box and taped it on with some tape. I didn't put any lining in there, but underneath you're going to see that it's not going to have any gray, although it is going to have the part to attach to cover up the hand. And it's actually going to have the ability to rotate, which is a little bit of a plus over this high grade, despite the fact that its grip is that much more secure. It's an interesting attachment point, as you take off the hand, what you can do is rotate this around, and you'll notice that when you do that, there was a little gray part there with a hole. So when you put this forearm cover back on, you can take the hand and either plug it in this way or the other way, and you plug this part into the hand, so it's actually going to be protected from the front, and you'll notice that it just snaps ever so slightly into there. So it's a good fit, and you can have this part actually facing forward, unlike the Genoa's Custom, which hides Wolf's most famous thing. And the only downside is going to be that your hand is going to look awkward whether it's palm up or palm down. The head of the G-Exes is noticeable for a couple reasons. First of all, the wolf ears on the top, those are going to look pretty good. But it's also this face mask, and the way that it's lined here, I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go at it. But anyway, you'd have deep channels there for the vents on front of the nose, if you want to call it that, and these corner parts are what I lined first down below. But then once I started doing the sides, then I had to go underneath. So it would have been nicer if this lower part was an extra piece that you put on top, but nonetheless a little bit of lining and some eraser work can get it quite fine, I suppose. On the sides you're going to have these circles here which are going around, and I guess these parts here which look like ears. This part up here is not a seal, although the eyes are. You have a blue part which runs for the eyes, the camera lens, and all the way through to the back. So this is plastic, and this I went with seals, although because they do give you the teal underneath, you could actually just put some black paint around that and have it look pretty sharp. The advanced grade's head is also going to be showing those blue parts there, and you can see on the inside that they're just giving you the effect of the blue being around there because this green part is just sort of raised out a little bit. But you have the same lining opportunities, so with a little bit of effort, you could actually turn this head to be looking almost as good, if not as good, as the high grades. Putting this kit together was a lot of fun, including those knees and just the way that those come together, and you're getting good bends all over the place. I wonder how the all-white motif is going to look from the front. You can see that the advanced grade had almost as many color wraps except for the tops of the feet here. So anyway, stay tuned for the next part where you'll see the mobile suit all put together. Let me know what you think of the parts with a comment down below. Always great to hear from you. And stay tuned for the next part and the final verdict for the high grade G-Exes. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. 13 episodes in and this guy's already got his own wolf pack.